Well, our next guest, she balks at the idea of being an inspiration to others, but I tell you what, she is a remarkable young woman who is doing a heck of a lot to change long-held misconceptions about disability. Check her out. She's a writer and disability activist who is never afraid to speak her mind.
Disability is nothing to be ashamed about.
Carly Findlay lives with a rare skin condition. It's not contagious, but she learned from an early age that misunderstanding her happens all the time. Carly is proud of who she is, and she's telling her life story to help other people be proud about their own. She's a very clever woman as well. She's just written a book. It's called Say Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been on the show before.
Yeah.
A few years ago, about 5 years ago. And it was under really horrible circumstances. You were being bullied for your appearance.
Yeah.
Can you run us through what actually had happened to you then and tell us a little bit about your condition?
Yeah, so I was bullied online on Reddit. So my photo had been misused. I had blogged for a long time and someone had shared my photo on a forum which had a really rude name. And a lot of people were criticising what I looked like. They were saying things like I looked like something that their dog had thrown up. They were asking other things. And I responded, and it turned the conversation around. I said, yes, this is me, this is what my condition is, what ichthyosis is, and I changed that conversation.
And what is your condition? Can we look at these beautiful photos of you growing up as a little girl? What is it like to live with your condition every day?
Yeah, so it's quite, obviously, I look very red and I get really itchy, I get prone to infections and it's very, very painful. But the social aspects of living with the condition are harder. So lots of people think that when you are disabled, your body is the thing that lets you down, but it's often people that let me down. It's the ableism, it's the discrimination.
Yeah. Let's go back to your childhood. We know what kids can be like. Probably, you know, some appalling things happened. Tell me about that time and where you found support.
Yeah, so, you know, school was really hard. Kids, even though I lived in a really small town, the kids never really accepted me. And it was really lonely. I spent a lot of time in the library, a lot of time writing. I watched a lot of you on TV on the midday show. And that was really hard. You know, I didn't really have many friends and I didn't know how to be a good friend because I didn't know have many friends myself. So, and I was in hospital a lot, maybe 2-3 times a year, quite a fair way from home as well, so, yeah.
So where did you get your support from?
From my mum and dad, I think, particularly when I was small. And then when the internet came to Australia in around 1996, my school librarian said, come to the library and research ichthyosis on the internet, and I found other people.
That would have meant a lot.
Yeah.
I also love you always dress so fantastically. You love fashion,
I do,
and you kind of had to point out that why shouldn't you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we're so underrepresented in fashion.
Yeah, right.
And so I love dressing up. You know, when I'm sore, I want to make sure I feel good, that I, you know, look good and present my best face forward. So, yeah.
And you don't feel represented by the fashion industry,
Absolutely
is what you're saying.
No, we don't see ourselves in magazines. When I was younger, I wasn't seeing myself in magazines, so I didn't know that I could do what I am doing today because I never saw myself.
Yeah, wow.
So I wanted to change that.
Yeah.
I thought it was so interesting to read that you said that you don't want a cure for what you're going through. Why is that?
Sometimes I would like a cure for the pain because that can be relentless, but I don't want a cure to change my appearance. The expectation of me to look different, to conform to society, to make other people comfortable, that's where that comes from. Those projections of how people feel about themselves are often thrust onto me. So I don't want a cure for that. I don't want to fit in. I don't want to be, you know, smooth-skinned. Well, I'm very smooth-skinned. I don't want to be paler-skinned anymore because I don't need to be. I just want to be me.
Isn't it just the fact that, as a society, we are nervous, apprehensive about how to talk, meet, be friendly with someone with a disability?
Yeah.
Because what they forget, this is your norm. People with a disability, my husband's in a wheelchair, that is his norm. But that doesn't come up to everybody else's expectations.
Absolutely. So often when people meet me, they forget their niceties, they blurt out what they're saying, what they're thinking rather, before they think it over properly. You know, they might say, why are you sunburned, or are you sunburned, or I couldn't handle looking like you, or worse.
Wow. Gosh. Artist Mel Chambers painted your portrait for the Archibald Prize. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so big. It's like, I'm very short, and it was a really tall painting. really big. It was amazing, and that's representation. I mean, to be, you know, it was a finalist in the Black Swan Prize in Western Australia, which was incredible, and to have that, you know, that I want other kids with ichthyosis to see that that's what can happen to them too, and to see themselves in galleries. And, you know, I was on a project last week, and a little boy who is about 4, he was watching and he said, "Mum, that's my friend Carly. She's got ichthyosis, and I was born like this too." And it was so lovely, you know.
So with those beautiful stories like that, though, I have to ask you, because you are very against what's called sort of inspiration porn. What do you mean by that? When you can be a role model to beautiful
So
people?
Stella Young, who was an amazing activist, a writer, comedian in Melbourne, she passed away in 2014. She coined the term inspiration porn. So it's the objectification of disabled people for the benefit of non-disabled people. So it's someone looking at a photo of a disabled person and saying, wow, aren't they inspiring, for just living their life. I don't want to be inspiring to non-disabled people just for getting out of bed. I want to be inspiring perhaps for changing the way people think, and I want to perhaps inspire other people with facial differences, skin conditions and disability to live a full life and to be happy with how they look.
Well, and it's all the way people approach you, because you have to then be on the front foot.
Absolutely.
And almost give them permission to be okay.
Yes, and it can be really tricky.
So there will be so many people watching, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, grandparents. Your message to them, tell them what you need and what you're trying to achieve, and how perhaps their children who will have a disability should deal with it.
Sure, that's a great question. I would really like people to, as my book says, say hello before blurting out, or not at all, to blurt out what they're thinking about my face, to really put their preconceptions around disability behind, that disability is not a tragedy. It can be community, it can be culture, it can be identity. Not all of my identity, but part of my identity, like I'm a woman, like I'm a writer, like I'm an arts worker. It's part of my identity. And that it's not a bad thing. It's not something to pity me over.
This is your normal.
Absolutely. And the thing to pity me over is the ableist discrimination that I face. Not that I really want pity, but that stuff needs to be pitied, not how I look.
Because it's something that can be changed.
Absolutely. And if
we've gotta
parents have a child that's born with ichthyosis or facial difference, it's not the end of the world. Teach them to connect with others. The internet is amazing in that. Put them in touch. Let them see who they can be.
And you must read Carly's book. It's called Say Hello. Carly Findlay, you are a gem.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for dropping by.